Hello. Today we're going to talk about mediation, and I'll give you my 2 cents on mediation, my philosophy. Mediation is a non-binding process, which the courts like because the goal of mediation is to get your case settled. You and your husband will go to a non-partial third party who will basically go between the two of you and try to get the case settled. Try to get any custody issues resolved. Try to get any spousal support issues resolved. Try to get a property division. All those things will try to be achieved in mediation or whatever is applicable to your case. So you pick a third party. Your lawyer will start off by picking a third party once both parties have agreed to mediate. Um, your lawyer is going to try to choose somebody who they have confidence in. And you want somebody who's effective, who's not going to just tell you what you want to hear, but somebody who's going to be honest with you and honest with the other side. Now, I look at mediation as having 4 goals. The first is, obviously, you want to settle your case in a satisfactory, get a satisfactory result. The second is a good, effective family law mediator who has handled family law cases, who's experienced with the court system, or maybe a retired judge who was on the family law bench for a while. Will let them assess your case and tell you what it's worth. What are you really entitled to? What's likely to happen if you don't settle and you take the next step and you do go to trial? What's the result going to be? The third is to show you the holes in your case. What trial lawyers often call is warts. Every case has warts. There is no perfect case. I have rarely ever seen a perfect case where nobody did anything wrong or everybody was perfect. It doesn't exist. Every case has warts. And it's not the end of the world. Since every case has got them, and if you know yours has some, well, don't worry about it, because that's why you have a lawyer, to deal with those. Because if you could do it on your own, you wouldn't need a lawyer. So your lawyer will be told what the warts are. Your lawyer may know what the warts are. Do not be surprised if your lawyer doesn't see those problems or doesn't give them enough weight. Because as attorneys, as advocates for our clients, we no longer can look at a case objectively. We take what I call the point of no return, where to effectively represent your client, you spend so much time with the case, with your client, learning about them as a human being, learning about what keeps them up at night, learning about what they want as a result and why, that you pass that point of no return and you can no longer look at the case objectively. And that is what I've learned from some of the finest lawyers I've worked with. Is that, and you have to take that tack to win. Well, what that does is sometimes when you get into mediation, you kind of lose focus and you can't see these bad things. Well, a good mediator will point out to you, hey, Paul, or hey, whoever your lawyer is, have you thought about you've got this problem and you're going to have to deal with it? Well, that is good in mediation because you want to know about your problems. Because if the case is not going to settle, you got to deal with them because you got to be prepared to keep going. So far, we have 1, you want to settle your case. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. 2, you want to find out what the neutral third party thinks of your case. The mediator or a retired judge. What do they think your case will get if you keep going? If you go to trial, what are you likely to receive from the court? And that will help you make an educated decision on whether you do want to accept a settlement or keep going. Third is, if you've decided, if the settlement isn't coming and you decided to move forward, what are the problems with your case? And because those are things you're going to have to deal with. And do not be surprised if your attorney doesn't see those. The last goal I find with mediation is to find out if you are the side trying to get money or custody or property, what is your husband willing to put on the table so that you can make that educated decision on whether to keep going or not. That combined with the problems with your case and what you're likely to receive at trial. Then you make an educated decision on whether you want to accept the settlement or not. If you're the one where your husband's seeking money, property, custody, from you, well, then you know what they're willing to accept and not willing to accept. If you offer, I'll make some numbers up. If you're offering $10 a month for support, this is a random number. Obviously, nobody's going to offer $10, but if you're offering $10 for support and your husband goes, "No, I need 15," and you're not willing to pay 15, well, at least you know that that he wants 15 versus 11, where you're thinking, okay, maybe I should just pay the 11. At least you know now, so you can make an educated decision on whether to proceed or settle the case. Now, I'm going to talk about what happens in mediation. Well, mediation is really boring. I have almost all my clients are excited to go to mediation because the prospect of getting this behind them, this awful case, nobody wants to go to court, so just get it behind them and get it settled and get a settlement they're happy with. And they come in with this attitude expecting something exciting to happen. Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Nothing exciting is going to happen. It's not like Law and Order and mediation. You sit in a room and you wait for the mediator to come back and tell you what's on the table. Well, I have come up with my philosophy on mediation is you got to have something to do, because if you're sitting in a boring conference room, even it's windowless is even worse, and you have nothing to do, you're going to do nothing but think about the case, especially if there's coffee there. So you get some caffeine in you, and then you're thinking, you can't stop thinking about the case. And you're already emotional about this because you should be. This is your life. It's a case. It's a major adversity you've got to get over. So, when you go to mediation, I understand that this is emotional, but really, your decision on whether to settle or not, it's really a business decision. The more emotional you get, the harder it is for you to make a rational decision. So what I suggest to all my clients is bring a magazine. I go to mediation, I bring 3 newspapers for people, for my client or whoever they bring with them, their mother, their father, their friend, whoever they bring with them, and to read the newspaper. I've brought playing cards where mediator comes on and doesn't understand what we're doing because we're playing poker or blackjack. That's great. I had one client who I know wasn't going to read the newspaper, not for a lack of intelligence, but just because she was so upset. So I brought Connect 4, and we had a blast playing Connect 4. She hadn't played Connect 4 since she was a kid. Fantastic thing to do, just to get your mind off of the case. That's what goes on. It's boring, you do a lot of sitting and looking out the window. So bring something to read, bring something to draw. Some people like to draw. Bring whatever will keep you occupied and keep you calm, and so you can make a good decision. Mediators have different ways of handling mediations. Some mediators will have all the parties in the very beginning sit around a conference room, and they'll do their little spiel about this mediation is confidential. Everybody has to sign a contract, and that's true with every mediation. It's confidential. It's the Vegas rule. What happens in mediation stays in mediation, and that's so the parties can be frank and honest and share more about their case and not worry about it being thrown back in their face. Other mediators will do the whole spiel in the conference room and then keep everybody around the conference room. Some will have you break into what are called caucuses, which is all that means, the fancy word for going into a separate room from your husband. Now, I find both of these ineffective, a bad way to start a mediation, and I don't like to go with mediators who do this technique. Reason being is, if I'm being sued for divorce or I'm suing somebody for divorce, the last thing I want to do is sit across the table from them in a conference room looking at them. I'm mad. I feel betrayed that we're even here. So I don't want to be there. I find it's not a good way to kick it off. I find the more effective mediators break the parties into caucuses immediately. You never come into contact with your spouse, with your husband. You go immediately into one room and he goes into the other room. And the only time you'll see each other is if you happen to see him from a distance getting on an elevator or something, or in the parking lot getting into his car and driving away. That's what I find most effective. Mediators also have techniques they use where some mediators will beat up on both parties, basically make you feel so bad about your case and such a loser that you gotta settle. And I find that to be kind of it's a cop out. I mean, come on. Don't tell me how bad my case is. I know about my case. I've lived with it. I've worked with it as an attorney. My client knows her case. I don't need some mediator coming in and knocking my case. So, and they read a brief, because before they read a brief that your lawyer writes on the case. That's all they know. So no, I don't like that technique. What I prefer with good mediators is they don't pass judgment on your case. They'll tell you where the holes are, where the problems are. They'll tell you what they think you'll get, but they're not going to pass judgment on your case. And I find that's far more effective. So those are my thoughts on mediation. It is a very effective way to get cases settled. The majority of cases do get settled, whether they're jury cases that are going to go to a jury trial, or family law cases. The majority of them do get settled. So I find mediation is rather effective if you have a good mediator and you go in realizing you're going to be bored out of your mind, you need something to do, and you have the 4 goals in mind. Try to get your case settled. If you don't get your case settled, what does the mediator think of your case, what you'll receive at trial? And what are the warts on your case? And lastly, find out what the other side is willing to put up or what the other side is willing to accept. And you can use all that information to make an educated decision to keep going or to settle your case. Thank you.